Power outages in China. We're back. I'm sure you guys have heard on the news recently all the electricity cuts which have been happening in China, and this is effectively going to impact our business, our production schedules, our delivery times, and also our product prices as well. So in this video I'm going to teach you everything we need to know and then everything we need to do in order to come out on top of the situation. Let's go! So for those of you guys in the game, you know that supply chain has gone through a really funny time in the last sort of 18 months and more so the last few months, and it's almost been like a perfect cocktail of freight issues, which I've made a video about before as well, which I'll link up above if you have any questions about the whole freight forwarding issue. You can check that out there, as well as the raw material cost, the labor cost, the exchange rate, and now the whole power cuts in China is the latest thing to sort of happen. So if you want to stay up to date on the latest of what's going on in China, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the link below, smash the like button. Any support would be greatly appreciated, but this is the channel to help you master the art of sourcing products from China. So honestly, when I first started hearing about the power outage situation in China from suppliers and hearing it on the news and reading it in the sources that I go to for information on China, I wasn't actually going to make a video on it because I was like, this stuff has happened before, I've lived in China before and this has happened to me while I've been there, and I'm like, it's not such a big deal, it's going to pass. But only when I started talking to more and more suppliers and sort of figured out, well, this is actually something that's going to stay, that I feel like this is now something necessarily to make a video about, because it's definitely going to impact our day-to-day businesses, it's going to affect our Q4, and it's going to affect our business in Q1 next year. So this is why I want to put this video together. But before we get into what we need to do, it's important to understand, why is this happening? How did we get here? I always like to give a bit of background and a little bit of context to the situation, so that when we use this information to talk to our suppliers, we're coming from a place of knowledge, so they can essentially respect us a little bit more, right? So essentially, China gets the majority of its energy from coal production, and coal causes a lot of pollution in the air, and pollution is measured by the thickness of the particles in the air. And when I was living in China, I actually had to wear a mask that you couldn't see 10 meters in front of you many of the days, because the coal production was so bad. And I've got a couple of pictures which I'll share with you real quick. This was taken from my WeChat account. I don't know if you can see it, I'll put a screenshot up above for you guys to see, but this was at an airport. I was jumping on a flight, and it was literally just grey skies, and I commented below, how can you even take off and land in this air? And this is me in 2013, 8 years ago, wearing a mask, right? So the problem existed, it has existed for a long time. Pollution is the main reason why I left China when I was living there. So now there's again like a bit of a cocktail of problems, in that China has got pressure from the rest of the world to reduce its coal emissions, and they've invested a lot more in solar, but solar is only 2% of their energy for the market. So anyway, for raw material costs, you know, they've gone up in loads of different categories, so therefore they've also gone up in coal. And China actually produces a lot of coal internally within their own country, but they also import a lot, and the main place they imported it from was Australia. And Australia and China got into a bit of a trade war during the pandemic, so they stopped importing Australian coal. But the Australian coal was actually better, it lasted longer, lesser emissions, and it was also cheaper to import coal from Australia than it was to produce it in China. And I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but it's just because it was much further inland where China were producing their coal, and the trucking fees to get it to the coastal cities, which is needed it for energy, for power, that trucking fee was far more expensive than it was just to import from Australia, as it would come straight to the coast and it would be used in those areas. So anyway, there's a trade war with Australia, stopped importing Australian coal, then the coal prices have gone up significantly, plus the pressure from the rest of the world to reduce their emissions, and China have also pledged to go carbon neutral by 2060. And then on top of all that, the factories have been way busier in the last 18 months, 2 years during the pandemic, as the demand for goods and production has increased, therefore their energy output has increased as well. And it's not only in the factories, but it's also in the households as well, because There's been a growth in the middle class in China. A lot more people have a disposable income, so a lot more people have more stuff in their homes, more things they need to provide energy to. So it's a wide concoction of reasons of why China is facing energy difficulties at the moment. So from my experience, like having spent a lot of time in China and living there, whenever China has an issue like this, there's no like warning to say, hey, in 1 month we're going to cut off your electricity, so now put some procedures in place how to deal with it. It's like, no, they decided top down, right, energy cut off, we have to reduce our emissions, and then people are just left to figure it out. So the Beijing Olympics was a great example of this, right? They wanted to show the rest of the world that China didn't have bad pollution problems, and they literally just cut off the energy supply to a lot of, you know, factories, industrial zones, households, etc. And I've got a couple of images which I'm going to share on screen, which I got from a Business Insider article, which I'll link the article down below in the description if you want to read on it further. But you can see like completely smoggy grey skies from the pollution, and then the same landscape, you know, a few days later, which is completely blue skies. So the rest of the world comes in, the media comes in, and like, oh, China doesn't have a pollution problem, the skies are great, they're nice and blue, and then they go away, and then a few days later, bang, it's back to heavily polluted skies. So they can control this, and they've just decided to turn it off at this stage. So that was kind of like framing the situation, everything we need to know. Now it's everything we need to do. And the number one thing I say we need to do is, if you've seen much of my content before, I've always preached the importance of building a relationship with your supplier. And this is a perfect opportunity to help further develop that relationship, or to start that relationship off in a nice way. It's, remember, when there's something like this, like a power outage, there's a human impact and there's also an economical impact as well. The economical impact is affecting our business, but the human impact is obviously affecting the people that we actually do business with. And I always believe that people buy from people. So I would always check, firstly, hey, are you guys okay? I heard about the situation on the news, I saw it in the media, I heard from other suppliers that, you know, you guys were having power outages. Just wanted to text you, make sure you and your family are all fine, because bear in mind that the electricity has been cut off in the factories, but they've also been cut off in residential areas as well. And from speaking to my suppliers, some of these guys are living on like the 35th floor in a high-rise, and with the power being cut off, there's no elevator to use, so they have to take the stairs every day, or there's no electricity to turn the heating on, or, you know, because we're now into wintertime almost in some regions, there's no electricity for you to heat up and cook your dinner. Right? I even saw that there was car crashes because traffic lights went out, and the worst one that I saw, I'll see if I can find a video for it and play it here. There was these people on a roller coaster in a theme park, and it was one of those ones where it kind of like shoots you up, and then you hover up, and then it like drops you down, and these poor people were like stuck at the top there where the power went out, and they're actually at the top just like screaming, looking down below, not knowing if this thing is going to actually like fall down, or if the power is going to come back on and they're going to come back down safely. It's extremely frightening. I would be screaming like a schoolgirl if I was in that situation. So it's things like this that we need to check in, say, hey, are you guys okay? I heard about the situation. So point number two, now that we've checked the human impact and make sure that our suppliers are okay, now it's check how it affects our business. So point number two is really just understanding your suppliers' capabilities. Are they still going to be able to produce on time? Have you placed your orders for Q4? If so, are they going to get delivered on time? If you have pre-existing orders, are they still on schedule? You have to ask these sort of things, because the way it goes in China is that if you don't, like, they might just tell you about the delays like 2 days before the actual shipment, rather than tell you now, and you can cause like preventative measures like order backup stock from another factory or something like that. So definitely check in to see if you have orders already confirmed for Q4, check that those dates are still valid. And then point number three is check the regions as well, because this power outage situation, as I said, is only covering 44% of China. So not all of it. Some places are actually operating okay. So you want to actually just find out the regions, and you can do that by asking your suppliers, hey, is your area affected? I heard about this on the news. But from my experience from talking to suppliers and doing my own research, I know it's the Zhejiang area, Jiangsu province and Guangdong province. And I'll put that on a map here so you can kind of understand where that is. But those provinces are quite big. It's scattered all over China. So definitely check in to see what areas are affected. And then when you talk to the suppliers, even if they're still operating normally, they might have switched their working arrangements. So for example, I've heard some suppliers are working at night rather than during the day, because the energy price is cheaper at using it at night than it is during the day, or they're using natural light during the day, like for their production. And then I even messaged one of my suppliers, like this is on WeChat, I left a message. Oh, 1 second, I need to find it. Yeah, so this is one of my suppliers. I sent him a message. I sent him a couple of voice messages, as you can see, to be like, hey, are you guys okay? And then afterwards he said, yeah, the situation is tough, but the factories are shutting down. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to put a screenshot up here. They basically said that sometimes the factories are only working 3 days per week and they're off 4 days per week. So everyone's made their sort of own arrangements. So definitely check in to see what the situation is that you guys are facing in your business. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Just a quick one, if you are getting value from this video, please smash that like button for me. And also, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and tap the bell to turn on post notifications, ding ding, so you can stay up to date of the latest of what's going on in China. And if you do like to work with me on a one-to-one basis or in a group coaching scenario, or stay in touch with projects I've got going on, I'm going to put all the links to all the things I'm involved with down in the description of this video below, so make sure you check that out. Thanks, and I'll see you in the video. And then point number 4 is try and use this situation, like with the power outage, with the freight situation, with the raw material cost, with the labor cost. Try and, I'm sure you've seen your prices fluctuate so much this year, and a lot of it has increased so much that you're like, it's actually not worth it to import those products anymore. So, excuse me, use this time to lock in prices for 2022. And how can you do that? Well, you can make a commitment to raw material costs. So if you use 600D polyester fabric, and normally you use 2,000 yards for your order, you can actually just go and book that stock right now, book the raw materials right now, and then go and order 10,000 yards, because that's what you use over the course of a year, and they'll just hold it in stock for you in their factory. So at least your lead times will decrease, because they always have the material sitting there in the factory, and your cost is pretty much fixed, because, or the cost of your goods is pretty much fixed, because they've actually bought that material at the price that it is today with the deposit that you've given them. So if you then go and place the rest of your order in, I don't know, August 2022, then the material is already there because you've purchased it before, so your price is relatively fixed and you're not going to get hit with those fluctuations. And then the last point, point number 5, is plan your production schedule for 2022. Something I always like to do at the start of the year in January is give all my forecast orders to my suppliers so they can plan their production schedule around how and when I plan to order next year, because when they come back to work after Chinese New Year, this time it's going to be February 1st, so when they're back to work like middle of February, they already know the orders that you plan to place over the course of the year. And remember, this is just a forecast, it's not a commitment, so you're not locked into these orders, but the more information you can give them up front, the better that they can plan their production schedule and book the production place for you. So if you did 10,000 units of a certain item last year, but you know you're getting like 1.5 times growth, so you're like, okay, next year I envision we're going to order about 15,000 pieces, we're going to need 3,000 in March, we're going to need 3,000 in June, we're going to need 3,000 in August. Then they can plan for that and they can book that space for you, and you don't even have to place a deposit. You just say, this is my forecast order, and they're going to leave those spots in their production line for you. Therefore, you're massively going to decrease any lead time issues as well. So one other thing I want to add is, people have asked me, well, how long is the situation going to last? And China haven't officially come out and said something official, but from reading multiple reports, it is sort of been said that this is going to come on and off between now and March 2022. So that's the reason I wanted to jump in and make this quick video, because I think the power outages is something that we're going to see quite regularly. It might come back on, they might use generators, and they might go out again between now and March 2022. And that's kind of like a key time for us in terms of our Q4, our shipments before Chinese New Year, our production after Chinese New Year. These are really busy times, and I don't want this to then delay the production time of your other goods as well. But it's important to sort of understand that Apple also have had the same issues. Apple suppliers have closed down their production plant on September 26th. Tesla's production plant also closed down production in September 26th. So I think our attitude towards this problem is really important, not to think, why is this happening to me? Why is my factory shut down? It's the biggest companies in the world are also facing these issues, and it's about how we deal with it moving forward, which is why I wanted to make this video. And if you sort of follow the steps I outlined before in terms of building up that relationship, planning your production schedule, locking in your pricing, checking in that they're okay. These sort of things are the marginal gains that can help us improve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% in our business, which will show up in the balance sheet. So don't have the defeatist attitude that, oh, this is a big problem, I should stop buying from China. It's no, I always feel with every problem there's an opportunity, and this is an opportunity that we can come out on top, because remember, your competitors also have the same issues. If it affects you, it also affects your closest competitors. It's what we do about it which is going to make the difference. And finally, I think there's an underlying message in all of this as well. I consider myself environmentally friendly. I always turn the lights off. I like to recycle. I'm very, very conscious of the environment, and I think that this is a message to all of us, not just, you know, what's happening in China, but it's for all of us not to waste electricity. You know, don't boil too much kettle. Don't boil too much water in the kettle, don't waste energy, don't leave the lights on, don't leave your appliances on charge. And I'm sort of learning from this to be like, well, how can I reduce my energy output? Because if this situation is happening in China, it's also a matter of time before it happens in other parts of the world as well. So I think that we all have to look within in this current situation as well and say, well, how can I help make this problem go away, or how can I improve this situation? And then on top of that as well, I think it's important, if you are doing further research on this particular topic, like the power outage situation in China, or any other topics that are going on in China for that matter, it's very, very important to understand where is the source of your information coming from, right? I hope that you trust this channel, I hope that you like and subscribe, and that you value my input as well, but don't always just take my word for it as well. I think it's really important to do your own primary research as well, because I read what was going on in the news in China, but I know that every news publication has their own agenda, and we've seen that more than ever in this last year. The same way I like to talk to suppliers to see, well, what is their opinion, and the same way I like to draw on my own experiences of what happened when I actually lived there, and I like to just put all that information together, make my own opinion, and then put information like this out as well. So I would say that for anyone, don't just read one article that you see on Facebook and say, okay, well, this is the situation. If you do care about the issue and you do want to understand more, it's best that you go to multiple different sources for your information. But I am happy and proud and I'm honored that I can be a source of your information. And thanks very much for watching this video. Thanks very much for spending the time with me today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Let's go.